This is Gemara Baba Basra Daf Nun Dalid, and we're holding on the last line of Nun Gimel Amid Beis Amar Rav Yirmiyah Bira Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yirmiyah Bira says the name Rav Yehuda. Hi man, they lift up a pili as we turn over to Nun Dalid Amid Ahalif. Someone who threw a lifta, a turnip, be pili at into a crack. There was a crack in the ground. So look at that. It's a pre-made turnip hole. And thereby, what did he do? He took his turnip and he threw it into the crack in the ground. Dara de ger. This was a field belonging to a ger. And now he effectively planted a turnip. Says the Gemara, Lo yahavi chazaka. It is not a chazaka. My time of in the shadam. Lo yahavi shvacha. Because when he planted it, there was no improvement. Nothing grew right away. And rather, only after some time, hashta the koshavach. Now there is improvement. And that is considered lahalacha memila koshavach. That's considered something that happened on its own, and therefore it is not going to be able to effect a kinyan on the property of the ger. Says the Gemara, and that really was a continuation of the previous Gemara, the same form of halacha, cases in which one is doing something, but because there's no tangible benefit immediately to that which he done, but rather it takes some time until something happens, therefore it cannot be utilized in the world of chazaka. The Gemara segues from here into numerous halachas of Shmuel, which, as we will see, are going to be very similar regarding the kinyan in the property of a ger. Amar Shmuel, 4 lines down. Hi man de pashach dikla, someone who removes some branches from the dekel, from the palm tree, and he wants to say, after some time, that he wants to have made a kinyan. Why? Because he did some form of improvement by removing the dead branches from the palm tree. Adaita de dikla kani. If you remove the branches to improve the tree, then indeed that can make a kinyan on the tree. Whereas adaita de chiyuta, if he did it for the sake of getting food for his animals, getting the branches to his animals to eat, loikani. Says the Gemara, hechi dami. What's the case? Shakal mehagisa mehagisa. What's the case? How can we determine whether he took it for his animals, he took it to improve the tree? If he took for both sides of the tree and he evened it out, then clearly he did it to improve the tree. That's called pruning a tree. You remove the excess branches from around the tree. Kula mechad gisa. But if you took all the branches out from one side, then he clearly just wanted the branches for his animals, and there would be no kinyan. So statement number 1 of Shmuel in the removal of branches and when we can determine it was a daita dikla, a daita dechiyuta, when there will be a kinyan or not. V'amar Shmuel 8 lines down is seconded. Haiman dezachi zechiya, someone who swept away zikaya, some garbage, weeds and twigs from a piece of land. Adaita de ara, if he did it to clean up the land, kani. Adaita de sivi, if he did it so that he has these twigs and stuff as fuel for his fire, loikani. Says the Gemara again, hechi dami, how can you tell from his action that which he did? Explains the Gemara, shakal ravari vizuti. If he took both the large and small twigs, he's clearly cleaning off the land. Shakal ravari, if he only took the large ones, vishavak zutri, and left behind the smaller ones, then adaita ditzivi, he's doing it for the sake of the wood, firewood, and therefore he would not have a kinyan. Statement number 2 of Shmuel. We continue Amar Shmuel, and Shmuel continues, Hayman, Titkal Tikla. Says the Gemara, Shmuel taught us a third thing about making a kinyan. Someone removed obstacles he removed dirt and he filled up holes in a field. Adaita de ara kani, adaita de veidari, like kani. But if he did it to create a beidari, to create a threshing floor, to create an empty area that he could bring his wheat to, loy kani. Says the Gemara, Hechi Dami, how can we tell from his action that what she did? Explains the Gemara, Shaka Mulya, Vishadi bin Natsa. If he took the dirt and he put into the hole, he's bettering the land, he's removing the holes, he's filling up the holes, he's removing the dirt. Mulya bin Mulya. But if all he did was just flatten out some of the dirt, then binatza, and put some in the hole, meaning it could be clear that if he took the mountain of dirt and he put in the hole and now he's flattening out the whole land, he's bettering the land. But if he's clearly just, taking the dirt and leveling it out a little bit, putting some in the holes, that would be more of a makeshift situation, and then it would be doing it as a temporary threshing floor that he would want to create for his own purposes, then he would not have a kinyan. V'amar Shmuel, and Shmuel continues with the fourth case. Someone made an opening of water into the land. If he did it to water the land, he's kana the kavri. But if he did it to catch some fish, like ani hechidami, how can we tell the difference? Pasach trei bavi. If he opened up two streams, two holes, chan me'ayol v'chan ma'apik, the water comes in one side and goes out the other hole, then adaita de kivri, then what's he doing? He wants to catch the fish, so he wants to create a situation that the water just runs through the field. Therefore, he does not have a kinyan. Whereas chad bava, if he did it only one hole, then adaita dari, he wants the water to sit in the ground and water the land, and then he would, yes, have a kinyan. So 4 different cases of Shmuel, in which one did an action, and through his action we can glean a little bit what his intention was, whether his intention was truly, as he's claiming, to make a field the better place, to be kind of the tree, etc., or if he had some auxiliary purpose, and then he would not have a kinyan. Continues the Gemara, a story which brings out the din of Shmuel. Hahi Itzah, 12 lines on the bottom. There was a woman, the Achla Dikla bit Avshicha. There was a woman who ate the fruit of a palm tree by removing the branches. And as we'll see in a moment, and as the Mefarshim speak out, it's clear that she only took the branches off of one side of the tree. Taliser Shinin, but she did this for 13 years. Asahu Rafik, Tute Purta, a guy comes and he digs a little bit under the tree. Asli Kamei de Levi Va'amri La Kamei de Marukva. They came in front of Levi and he said over in front of Marukva, Okma Biyadei. And Levi said, the second guy, even though this woman has been eating from this tree for 13 years, the second guy claimed, and he dug a little bit in the field, he's the one that's kind of Asai Kotzavcha Kamei, as you can anticipate. This woman comes in yelling and screaming. Amar La, Levi says, what do you want from me? And she didn't make a chazaka in the appropriate fashion that people make chazakas. And this is the first din of Shmuel, that because she only took off the branches from one side, she clearly showed she only did it for herself and not to wire the tree, and therefore she did not. Someone who draws a picture in the property of a ger that died, kana, he's a kana. The Rav like kana leginsa de Rav, because Rav did not make a kinyan in the garden next to the yeshiva of Rav. Ella bitzur saw. How did Rav make a kinyan? There was a ger that was nifter in the property neighboring the yeshiva of Rav. How? Bitzur saw, by making a picture on it. So concludes the Gemara, that would be a way to make a kinyan. So all different ways of knowing whether the field was being utilized for food or whether it was to make a kinyan on the property. Continues the Gemara with the kinyanim that are potential when agar. Again, when a ger dies, he's not related to any of his prior family, and therefore all these discussions ensue as to be kind of his property. Itmar soda hamitsuyames bimitzreho, a field that is clearly delineated, clearly written out where its boundaries are. Amravuna marav kivan shekish b'makosh echad, says Ramuna Rav, when you make one shovelful in the ground, kana kula, you acquire the whole field. Shmuel amar leikana al-makam mechushay belvad. So Rav says by working the field you get the whole field. Shmuel says no, all you get is the area that you worked. And continues the Gemara and says, 1 second. The case was in which we knew clearly where the property boundaries were. Says the Gemara, now let's say there were no boundary dividers. Then what must a kinyan be? Amar Ababa Kedazel Tayara. Says Rababa, as the oxen, the shuri v'hadar, and come back. Says Rababa that the kinyan is going to have to be, you have to plow as much as an ox goes and comes back. 2 furrows, one way, one the other way, then you'll have a kinyan. So if the boundaries are delineated, if there's a clear demarcation, then we have a machlokes. Rav would hold even 1 shovelful. But if that's not the case, then says the Gemara, you have to plow appropriately. Continues the Gemara. We're on the Dalet Amud Beis, the second line. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Nechsei Akom Harein Kimidbar. The properties of a guy are like a desert. Whoever makes a kinyan of them acquires them. Because when a guy gets money in his hands, he is no longer in the property. So when you pay him, that effectively removes the guy from the field. But Yisrael, but a yid is not kaina until he gets the shtar. Helkach, therefore, this property, Harein Kimidbar, is like a desert. Because the yid didn't get the property, the shtar yet. The guy got his cash. Whoever's going to come and make a kinyan in this field until the yid gets the shtar, will be able to acquire the field. So moving from Nichsei Ger to Nichsei Ak, Amle Abaye le Rav Yosef, 10 lines down, the first one line is le Rav Yosef. Says Abaye to Rav Yosef, mi Amar Shmuel Achi. Did Shmuel really say this? Amar Shmuel, but Shmuel taught, Dina de Malchusa Dina. What do you mean? The classical halacha, that which the government says, we're bound by. Umal Kamar, and what does the king say? Lo likni ara ela bigarta. That you can't make a kinyan only with a document. So how can you tell me that the property is like the Nechsei Bidbar and anyone can come along and just make a kinyan? What do you mean? Dina de Malchusa Dina, which dictates you got to have a shtar. Amar Le, responds Rav Yosef, Anoli Yadana. I do not know regarding the Dina de Malchusa Dina, but I'll tell you a story. Of the Have Bedura Deruta Deravasa. There was a story in a shepherd's village, Israel the Zavanhara Meyakum. There was a yid that brought a property from a guy. But also, Yisrael Achrina, and a different yid came, Rav Agba Porta, and dug a little bit of it, and then also came into Rav Yehuda and Agba Yada the Shady. So says Rav Yosef, good kasha, perhaps, Dina de Mechusa Dina, Aber Lemaisa, no. I had a story that the second yid made the kinyan, and therefore, Therefore, clearly, we don't go by din de machusadina, and rather by digging in the field, he made the kinyan. Amar le, by your response, Tura deravasa kamrit. You're bringing me a raya from the story of a shepherd. Hasam. Over there, Bagi mitamre havo. Over there, the fields were undisclosed. These were hidden fields. The shepherds didn't pay taxes. Because they didn't give taxes to the king. And the king says that whoever pays the taxes will get the land. And therefore, because the original owner didn't pay taxes, therefore it was never his legally. And therefore, the whole story is meaningless. The second guy, he makes a kinyan. Okay, so now it's his. He'll come and he'll pay the taxes. But you can't bring a riot here. Kineged Dina de Malchusa Dina. And one last story, 5 lines to the bottom. Ravuna Zavan Arameak. Ravuna bought a land from a Gayas Israel. Achai Rafik Beiporta. A Yid came and did a little bit of a kinyan and he dug in it. Rav Nachman. Ukmebi Yadei. Came from Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman said the field is his. Amrle Maitai Toch Tamer Shmuel Nechse Akum. Harein Kemidbar V'chlamachs Behen. Zachbam. You going to the din of Shmuel? But 1 second, as we turn over to tomorrow's Daf Nun Hey Amid Aleph. Ask the Gemara, why are you going with that din of Shmuel? Which said clearly that if the second guy makes a kidney, it's going to be his. Ask the Gemara, Laveli Markedich Shmuel. Do like the other din of Shmuel, Damar Shmuel Loikan Elamaka Mechushe Bilvad. So now the Gemara comes full circle. We had a machlekes Rav and Shmuel, why a field with delineated boundaries. Rav said you take 1 dig, you get the whole field. Shmuel said you take 1 dig, you get 1 dig. But then Shmuel came along and said that when it comes to Nechse Akum, that you take 1 dig, you get the whole field. Why is that? Amar Le responds Rav Nachman. Bahai ano kishamaitin svirli. With regard to this, then I go according to our Misaira. To Amar Ravuna Marav Kivnichshan Ba Machusha Echad Kana Kulos. The Gemara is concluding that indeed we're going to go with Shmuel Klap a 1 din, but not Shmuel Lishita Sai. It's true that Shmuel Lishita Sai might hold that you can only get 1 shovel full, but according to this, we're going to go with our Misaira that you're going to get the whole field. Pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.